everyone, and welcome to our talk about assessment terminology. My name is Courtney Miller. I'm the reading specialist here at our school, and I want to talk to you about all things assessment terms. The first term I want to bring up is reading or literacy assessment, which is an assessment that collects data on fluency, comprehension, vocabulary, writing, decoding, all of those reading and literacy skills. It's like a big umbrella for all of the literacy and reading assessments that we might do. An example would be the comprehensive test of phonological processing, which helps us assess phonological awareness skills in our students. Now, part of all of these assessments is whether they will determine if a student might need remediation or if a student might need intervention. And all of these assessments do that. My job in this is to provide support and guidance to all of our classroom teachers across the board all year long in all of these assessments. Now for our students will start to see the progress that is made throughout the year by these assessments. Progress that visualization helps with encouragement. My second assessment is the language assessment. So a language assessment is an assessment used to interpret a student's understanding of the English language as well as their ability to use the English language. Testing for English language learning, or the TEL assessment, is an example of a language assessment because it helps us understand a student's understanding of the English language through reading, writing, and other skills. For intervention, I would say language assessment is a huge part of getting our students the intervention level that they need, as well as getting them appropriate specialists that might need to help bridge the gap for them. My job is to take the scores, create a learning path, as well as progress monitor throughout the year on their language proficiency. Our students will learn to read, write, and communicate with greater accuracy while seeing their progress. The next term I want to bring up is diagnostic testing. Now, diagnostic testing is a test to determine student strengths and weaknesses. So the DARS assessment, or the diagnostic assessment of reading, assesses students' strengths and weaknesses on key skills. These aren't all of the skills that lead up to reading and see how well they read. It's one skill at a time. Now, a diagnostic test does determine if a student needs remediation or if a student would need intervention. And I use the diagnostic test that I am administering to determine what level of intervention a student might need or if they need a specialized service. A diagnostic test is typically given different times throughout the year. So students become familiar with the process, and this helps assess the student's improvement towards their literacy goals. The next term is remediation, which is a form of reteaching a lesson due to a lack of whole class proficiency. An exit ticket, which is an example of a remediation tool, can provide a lot of information for understanding. For instance, let's say you teach a lesson on the magic E, and you give out an exit ticket and realize that your students didn't quite grasp your lesson. You can find new ways to teach Magic E in a new and fun way, perhaps singing the Magic E song, which helps them retain all of the rules surrounding the Magic E. My job is to support classroom teachers during remediation time by being an open book of ideas. I can also do push-in sessions for the whole group to teach one technique. Now, remediation, again, is a whole class. It's not individual students. Remediation also gives students a second chance to learn a lesson. So it's like opening your book to a fresh page and starting over. The next term is intervention. Now, intervention is a way of helping our struggling students, our struggling readers, work on their skills. In our school, we use the response to intervention approach, which involves a multi-tier intervention plan. So after some diagnostic testing, I might pull a small group of students for work on a specific skill. I might use the program Phonics to facilitate phonics lessons using technology, which is awesome. One of my main jobs in the school is doing intervention lessons with students. So I facilitate lessons for students all throughout the day at their level, improving their literacy goals. Intervention allows students one-on-one time, which allows for a greater connection to the material. The last term I want to bring up is progress monitoring, which is a way of assessing our students' academic performance over time. Students' progress monitoring, especially in upper grades, involves a student becoming more responsible for their work by giving them a visual for their progress. Progress monitoring should be done frequently. I suggest about 6 to 8 weeks to allow for enough improvement, but if you have a struggling student, it could be more frequently. Assessments like the running records, DARS assessment, fluency passage assessment, comprehension assessments, all are examples of progress monitoring. Progress monitoring can help address patterns that we might see in student progress over time, especially when they're done frequently. Now, my job is to work with students who struggle to show progress. I use progress monitoring to determine if students need more or less intervention. I believe that progress monitoring can be very student-led. Now, the assessments to get to progress monitoring cannot, but the progress itself can be charted or graphed and visualized by the student, and this allows for student responsibility. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned a lot about assessment terminology. If you have any questions, just let me know.